Alright, what's up everybody? It's your boy Akeen again for today's second vlog. Wrapping things up around the defensive side with all my top prospects for the 2013 NFL Draft. For this final vlog on the defensive side, I need to talk about my top 5 safeties. Now I have an okay group for you guys. No big names like Mark Barron to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers last season, but we got some reliable athletes in this top 5, and I think they're going to start being picked within the second round of this year's NFL Draft. Starting at number 5, I'm going to go with Fresno State's Philip Thomas. He had an All-American season, 8 interceptions this season. He shows that he's a playmaker, can cause some turnovers, and he's a good, skilled defender overall, good overall player. Now, some weaknesses that he has is that he sometimes bites in the play action where he will actually end up having players get behind him. He needs to work better at that and needs to pay attention to the quarterback and the receiver that he's up against, and even in his zone, whatever coverage he's dealing with on the defensive side. Also, he had to deal with the leg injury and he had to miss the entire 2011 season. That's a little bit of a concern for me. Yes, he did bounce back, but hopefully I pray that was not a one-year hit wonder in last year's performance. But I still think he's a good overall athlete. Also, he did play in a lower conference in the Mountain West, but he still had just enough competition to crack my top 5. At number 4, I'm going to go with Jonathan Cyprien out of Florida International University. Now, he was overshadowed by T.Y. Hilton during his career for the Panthers, but I think that Cyprien is a good safety. He's a good all-around player. He would definitely be a good supporter in the run. He's actually the school's all-time leading tackler at the safety position. He closes in well on stretch plays, works well in run support, but he sometimes lacks the elite change of direction in his speed. He sometimes doesn't have good speed bursts and change of directions, and even within his hips, he doesn't have like the fluid-like hips that you would want like in a cornerback. But still, at the safety position, he needs to work on his hips just a little bit more to be better in changing direction and switching the field. Those are the two little things that he needs to work on. But I still think he's a good overall defender, particularly in the red zone. He is definitely a good red zone defender, defending the back half of the field pretty well. I think he's going to be an excellent pick for any team in the National Football League. Now at number 3, 2, and 1 had a little bit of a debate here, but at number 3, I'm going to go with LSU's Eric Reed. He reminds me a lot of Mark Barron out of Alabama. He's a great overall athlete, great size. 213 pounds at 6'1". He is tall, long, and has a solid build for him. I think he has a good body for this position, and he had a decent workout overall, 4.53 40, and he had a 40-inch vertical leap, which means he would definitely have opportunity to catch the ball at the highest point and cause some turnovers for whoever team in the National Football League. He could also deliver a hit and step in and run support. A couple things that he lacks is that he lacks recovery speed, especially when he makes a false step. If he makes a false step, that will cause him to be just a couple of steps behind, and he has a hard time recovering that speed. Just like Cyprien, he kind of just like Philip Thomas and Cyprien, they kind of lack that speed burst in which you want in the safety to have. And also, he sometimes gets over aggressive at times, where he will actually jump on short crossers, which can cause more openings on the back half of the field, which could be a little bit of concern for me. He needs to work on that just a little bit more. Also, he could also be too overly aggressive in run plays, and he, especially in the stretch plays, allowing the running backs to extend a little bit more and have more cutback lanes for them. That could be a little bit of a concern for me, but I still think he's a good overall player for LSU. He was actually kind of overlooked as well because of all the stars on the defensive side for LSU. He wasn't like that lone star on that defense. They had a lot of talent on that defense overall, and that's another reason why I had to put him at number 3, because he had a lot of talent around him. Now, same for this particular player at number 2, Matt Elam out of Florida, but I think he has more playmaking ability than Eric Reed. That's why I had to put him at number 2. He's a great athlete. He would definitely give you that nasty, sick hit. He would definitely step up at that. He was an all-SEC performer, 76 tackles, 11 of those tackles for losses, and he had 4 interceptions. He had a great year coming out of the University of Florida. He can also disrupt the catch. Like I said, he can give you some playmaking ability with those 4 interceptions, but he can also disrupt the catch if the receiver had the opportunity to put the the ball in his hands, he actually has the ability to swipe it away once the ball touches the receiver's hands. I like his play a lot, especially as a good cover safety. Supports the runs good enough. Now, a couple things he needs to work on is on often in lateral, when he moves laterally in the run defense, where he really needs to do is plant that outside foot and not allow any the running backs to run outside and have the running backs go upfield immediately, in which he will have more support from his teammates on the defensive side. That's one thing he needs to work on. Also, he's always going for the big hit. Basically, what I'm trying to say is it's great to have big hits, but sometimes just go for the tackle. Just get the job done and go on to the next play. Don't go for the big hit, because if you do, a lot of players who do go for the big hit often lunge and will miss their tackles completely. He needs to not go for the big hit so many times in so many big plays. Now, he does work well at best on big plays, especially when he's asked to step up with big hits and even blitzing schemes. He's a great overall athlete, but sometimes he gets a little bit too cocky and trying going for the big hit. Now, at number 1, I have to go with my Texas Longhorn, Kenny Vaccaro. He had a great season, over 100 tackles this year. He has loose hips and overall great change of direction ability. He attacks downhill very well versus the run, and he can play the cover 2 or man-to-man. I like that a lot about this kid. Now, a couple of weaknesses for him is that he's sometimes extensive, especially in man coverage. He can still give you good man-to-man coverage, but he's sometimes not extensive enough around the line of scrimmage. Also, he doesn't always take good angles versus passes, especially in seam routes. Sometimes he makes a bad angle, in which he did showcase a little bit of that at the NFL Draft Scout Combine. Also, he kind of had a bad 40 time at 4.63, but he is still a good cover corner. He's a little bit more versatile than everybody else, and he could give you that dominant run support, simple, fundamental player. That's why I had to put him at number 1 over everybody else. Also, he had 15 reps at 225. I think that's pretty good at the safety position, which means he can give you a little bit of strength. He's a good all-around athlete. Not great at one thing, but good at a lot of things. That's why I had to put him at number 1 over everybody else. Now, I don't really have any honorable mentions for you guys. I think there weren't that many really big names, like I said, at the safety position. But there's a couple of players in particular. I think one player at the cornerback position who could probably be a good safety, and that is Jordan Poyer of Oregon State. I mentioned him as my honorable mentions at cornerback, but I think he could even step up at the safety position just to bulk up just a little bit more. Now, I have one more video for you guys that will be on Friday, where I will give you my top 5 special teams players overall. I'm not going to give you my top 5 kickers, top 5 punters, and top 5 return men. I'm just going to give you my top 5 special teams players overall, and I'll catch you guys then. Thank you for watching today's vlogs. I'm your man, Akeem McCall. Be easy.